If the washer finished the cycle and drained the water, but when you check the clothes they're dripping wet, that's an indication that the washer did not spin. If the clothes are not dripping wet, but you could squeeze water out of them easily, that's an indication that the washer spin but did not spin fast enough. You will need to check the parts in this chapter until you find the problem. If the washer finished the cycle and the timer moved to the off position, and when you remove the clothes they're not dripping wet but you could squeeze water from them, that is an indication that the washer drained and spin but didn't spin fast enough. Let me show you how to check it out. Remove the clothes from the washer and close the door. Put some tape on the door to make sure that the door stays closed and the door switch stays on. Use a potting knife to open the top panel, then put it between the top and front panels so it won't close on you. Set the timer on the spin cycle and turn it on. Lift the top panel and lean it against the wall like this. Make sure you keep your hands away from the spinning drum. Don't put them in or you could lose a couple fingers, alright? If the spin drum is spinning but it's not spinning fast enough, the problem could be a worn out truss bearing, the belt slipping on the transmission pulley, the motor not putting enough tension on the belt, the motor pulley worn out, or something cut between the top and the spin drum. Disconnect the washer from the wall outlet and open the controls panel. Take a piece of copper wire and make a jumper like this one. Disconnect the door switch from the wire harness. Connect the jumper wire between these two terminals on the wire harness. And put electrical tape to insulate and secure the connection. Close the controls panel and hold it in place with only one screw. Connect the washer to the wall outlet. Set the timer on the spin cycle. Open the door and pull the knob to turn the timer on. If the washer works okay with the jumper wire, then you have a bad door switch and you need to replace it. Set your multimeter to read ohms. Disconnect the switch from the wire harness. And with the washer door closed, check for continuity between these two terminals. Make sure that the test probes are making good contact with the terminals. With the door closed on the washer, the reading should be close to 0 ohms. If the reading is infinity, the door switch is bad and you will need to replace it. After completing the test, remove the jumper from the wire harness. It's not safe to run the machine with a jumper. You need to have a door switch. Connect the door switch and close the controls panel. Make sure that the washer is disconnected from the wall outlet. Open the door on the washer and move the tub to the right, like this. Remove the two holding screws and pull the switch out. Remove the switch actuator and disconnect the wires from the switch. And take the switch assembly right out. This is how the switch works. When the button is in, the switch is on, and when the button is out, the switch is off. You could use a small screwdriver like this to remove the switch. Set the new switch in place and push it in until it snaps in place. Connect the wires to the switch. Install the switch actuator. Set the switch in place and screw in the two holding screws. Turn the water faucets off and remove the two fill hoses from the faucets. Remove the drain hose from the drain pipe and disconnect the washer from the wall outlet. Put a can of paint behind the washer and lay the washer on top of it. Then remove the belt. Remove the plastic grease cover, the E-clip, this washer, the transmission pulley, and the truss bearing. Install the new truss washer, the transmission pulley, the washer, and let me show you how to install the E-clip. File down the tips of the E-clip so it will be easier to install. Stick a small screwdriver on the groove of the shaft. Pry down to lift the shaft out. Now you got space to put the E-clip. Go ahead and put the E-clip. Then use a needle nose pliers to drive it in. Install the plastic grease cover and install the belt. Disconnect the washer, open the top panel, and remove the front panel. Remove the agitator. Put a mark on the top cover and tub to guide you when reassembling the top cover. Unhook all the tabs around the top cover and remove the cover. Unscrew these 4 screws. Rock the tub around to break it loose and remove it. Remove the O-ring on the transmission shaft and then remove this foam gasket. You will need these 2 tools to remove the seal nut and the basket hub assembly. Go ahead and remove the nut seal. And remove the basket hub assembly. Disconnect the water level switch hose from the tub and disconnect the tub to pump hose. Lean the washer against the wall and remove the belt. You will need a tool like this to remove all the suspension springs. This is how you use the tool to remove the springs. Go ahead and remove all the springs. Grab this complete assembly and take it straight out. Now just be careful you don't bang it or drop it or you could crack the drum. Then lay it down on the floor upside down like this so you could work on it. From this position you could replace the transmission, the bearing and seal housing, the snubber ring, the brake assembly, and the truss washer. To remove the transmission, do the following. Remove the grease cover. Remove the E-clip, the washer, the transmission pulley, and the thrust washer. Mark the location of 2 screws and remove them. Get 2 number 12 self-drilling sheet metal screws about 1.5 inches long, like this. Screw them all away on the holes that you removed the 2 screws from. Remove these 4 screws. Unscrew the 2 long screws a little bit at a time, alternating from one screw to the next one until there's no more pressure from the brake spring. Then you can take them out. Now you can remove all the brake parts, including the snubber ring. Remove these 3 screws on the base. Remove the screws on the side of the base and remove the base. Now you can remove the transmission. Grab the new transmission and set it in place. Make sure that it's all the way in. Set the base in place and screw in the holding screws. Clean the base real good with alcohol and start reassembling the brake parts. Screw the 2 long screws on the holes that you marked before. Screw them a little bit at a time, alternating from one screw to the next screw until the screws are all the way in. Make sure that the snubber ring is all the way in position before you screw the screws all the way in, okay? Unscrew in the other 4 screws. Install the thrust bearing, the transmission pulley, the washer, and do the following to install the E-clip. Stick a small screwdriver on the groove on the shaft, then press down to lift the shaft. Now you have space to install the E-clip. Use a needle nose pliers to drive it in. And install the grease cap. Grab the complete assembly and set it in place. Be careful, if you drop it or bang it, you could crack or break the tub. Install all the suspension springs using the spring tool. Install the top to pump hose and the water level switch hose to the tub. Install the basket hub assembly. And the nut seal. Install the foam gasket and the transmission shaft O-ring. Set the spin tub in place, make sure it's seated properly, and secure it with the holding screws. Install the top cover and make sure that all the tabs around the drum snap in place. Install the agitator. Install the belt, the front panel, lower the top panel, and you're done.